Writing my statement of faith was a great opportunity to put into words what I believe and why I believe them. In this presentation, I am going to highlight three main topics that I am very passionate about regarding my faith. These three things are justification, sanctification, and the purpose of the church. The first topic I would like to discuss is justification. Justification is a one-time act of God in which He views us as forgiven and that Christ's righteousness is bestowed upon us. This is a work of God, and there is nothing we can do on our own by observing the law or performing good works, but it is completely out of God's good grace. Therefore, no one will be declared righteous in His sight by observing the law. Rather, through the law we become conscious of sin. For we maintain that a man is justified by faith apart from observing the law. Romans 3:20 and 28. The idea of justification is often twisted into a concept that we can earn favor with God and earn our way to heaven. This is completely false, and it is written all over Scripture that this is the work of God in us. Next, I will discuss sanctification. This topic has become very real in my life in the past few months. Sanctification is the lifelong process of becoming more like Christ. There is a quote from C.S. Lewis that sums up my view on sanctification. Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps, you understand what He is doing. He's getting the drains right and stopping the leaks in the roof, and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing, and you were not surprised. But presently, He starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make any sense. What on earth is He up to? The explanation is that He is building quite a different house than the one you thought of. Throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but He is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it Himself. Sanctification is a beautiful yet painful process of becoming a palace suitable for Christ to dwell in. We should desire this process and seek ways to become more like Christ daily, putting to death our sin and pursuing holiness. Finally, I want to discuss the purpose of the church. I recently read a book called Radical Together by David Platt, and he talks a lot about this topic, and I would highly recommend it for those who are passionate about the church. The purpose of the church is threefold. The ultimate purpose is to glorify God, but there are three ways that the church is called to do so as a whole. To neglect one of these three purposes would lessen the effect of the church and would make the church disobedient to God's purpose for them. The three purposes of the church are worship, edification, and evangelism/mercy ministry. It is important to keep these purposes in balance. In the church, there are people that have strengths in each of these areas, their own purpose in the body, but as a whole, we are called to fulfill all of these purposes for the glory of God. To neglect one of these purposes can be detrimental to the church. And this concludes my presentation for my statement of faith.